Okay, now we're on to a different module, taxonomy. Now we don't really need guides to be able to administer this. If you remember, we set up one of the vocabularies to have free tagging, so tour guides will have the ability to add new locations via that vocabulary. But for the rest of them, we don't really want them to modify or delete any terms that are inside of those vocabularies. But let's go ahead and look at the permissions, just so we have a sense of what's there. Administer vocabularies and terms gives the user the ability to add and remove vocabularies as well as terms in general, but we can also add more specific settings for certain vocabularies. So for each of the vocabularies that we have, and we have 3, locations, tags, and tour types, we can give the user the ability to edit terms or delete terms. Okay, I'm going to continue scrolling down. The toolbar module is the module that's responsible for this bar across the top of the page, and we can allow them to use this. So far, the guide doesn't really have any administration pages that they have permission to access, so we'll leave this unchecked for now. The user module is responsible for permissions, roles, and users. Let's go ahead and look at the permissions. Administer permissions. Notice the warning below it. This allows the user to adjust permissions for any role, which means that if a user has this permission, they have permission to do anything on the site because they can grant themselves permission. Administer users allows the user to add and edit users, as well as delete existing users. The View User Profiles permission gives the user the ability to go to a special page that's created every time a user account is created and view some data about that user. By default, there's not a lot there, but users can be extended just like content types to include additional fields that has more data about the user. We'll come back to this after we've talked about profiles and extending user data later. We can give the user permission to change their own username or cancel their account. Notice that canceling isn't the same as deleting. With the cancellation process, the user is simply blocked and they can't access the site with that account anymore, but the data that they've created while they have been active in their account stays behind. The select method for canceling own account allows the user to select whether they want to have their data stored or not. For now, we don't really need to give a guide permission for any of these, so we'll go ahead and skip checking them. I'm going to scroll down. For the Views module, which is the module that we've been using to build our calendar view, we have a couple of permissions. Administer views, which gives the user the ability to edit, delete, and add new views. Bypass views access control gives a user access to any view regardless of the specific control that we've given it. Now, we haven't covered how to restrict access in a particular view, so we'll come back to this after we've talked about those settings inside of a view. The Views Exporter module takes care of exporting views that we've created, so we can either back them up or use them on a different site. We're not really using this right now, so we can skip this. I'm going to scroll down.